Now, Hammanskraal residents in the city of Tshwane have not had clean water for years, 16 years to be exact. The Human Rights Council has even deemed it unfit for human consumption. ActionSA's Tshwane mayoral candidate Abel Tau visited the community after reports that things are getting worse. He joins me now via Zoom together with the DA's Chief of Staff for the city of Tshwane, Jordan Griffiths. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. I'm going to start with you, Jordan. Why has the DA not done anything to assist the people of Hammanskraal?
Good morning, and thank you for the question. Thank you for having me. So I think first and foremost, the DA has most certainly not has been actively working to support the community of Hammanskraal. Pre-2016, in fact, under the leadership of Sodium Simang, who was campaigning to be the executive mayor, he identified that the water in Hammanskraal was incredibly problematic and not drinkable. And in his campaigning, it was indicated that it would be something we would, which is exactly what we did. We've allocated approximately 300 million rand towards the upgrading of the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant, which is infrastructure that was effectively neglected for almost 17 years under the ANC and is going to require significant refurbishment. Phase one of that refurbishment is underway and is currently at about 58% completion. In this financial year. And this is obviously going to make a significant impact on the water quality that is provided to the residents of Hammanskraal. However, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that the water is not at a potable standard and has not been. And it's something that in the city of Tshwane we are well aware of, actively communicate on what is being done to address it. But most certainly it has been a key priority for the Democratic Alliance since we took office in 2016 and will remain a key priority so long as the DA is in governance in the city of Tshwane.
2016 is 5 years ago. This project that you mentioned is only 58% done so far, and that's only phase one. Was it not late, perhaps, this project? Did it not start late?
No, not at all. In fact, the specification design for this project obviously had to take effect, and we had to ensure that we had necessary funding. 300 million rand is an incredible amount of funding to allocate towards something like this. The city's entire capital budget is about 4 billion rand each year. So you're looking at a sizable chunk of the city's budget. The tendering for this process was finalized in 2019, whereby the contractors then took occupation of the site to begin the work. So in between those periods, the first thing we had to do was, one, source the funding, and then two, ensure that we have the necessary specifications in terms of what is required for the refurbishment of the plant. Obviously, during this period, the city has always ensured that water tankers are deployed to the area because water is being provided. It is just not of a potable and drinking quality to a certain segment of the population.
Let me come to Abel Tau. Abel, do you think that the DA is doing enough to assist the people of Tshwane with water, particularly in Hammanskraal?
Thank you very much, Masego, and good afternoon to viewers at home. No, they are not, Masego. What Jordan is not saying is that in this term, from the start of the term in 2015, when they identified that the issue is at the dire state as a DA, until when we took over in 2019, when I was the MMC of Utility Services, literally nothing had been done. And unfortunately, afterwards, nothing was done. But what it doesn't tell you is that there was a water treatment plant in Temba that has GAC, ozone, and all of those things that is currently sitting at just over 600 million rand spent. That is not going to ameliorate the situation of water. So for him to come here and say spending 300 million is a sizable amount of money when they've spent 600 million on a project that is not going to obviously resolve the problem is really taking people for a ride simply because people don't know what should be happening, or either they don't know what should be happening. But what is worse, Masego, and heartbreaking is that, you know, when we had the water inquiry, we gave the mayor an opportunity to talk to people of Hammanskraal and take them to their confidence that they are doing something to fix the water situation. He flatly refused. He's never been there. I was in Hammanskraal yesterday. The situation is heartbreaking. It's cruel, to put it bluntly. I mean, you have a situation where, as we speak today, if I hadn't gone to Hammanskraal for the past 2 weeks, the water was even discolored, completely discolored, smelly and brown. That is not even from a naked eye, you could see that the water quality is bad. But even worse, they continued to pump that water through to residents until I had to intervene and go to Hammanskraal and say, this is not on. And only then, as we speak, part of Hammanskraal completely, there's no water coming out of taps. Now, if he comes here and sits and says 5 years later, this is what we are talking about when it is an issue that they campaign on, really, it shows a smacks of lack of regard for the people that they should be leading. And unfortunately, what infuriates me more is the fact that in the time when I was heading the department and I've acted as a mayor, I had put concrete plans that both the NCOP, the National Parliament, the minister and everyone had actually said those plans are credible and can actually take us forward. But unfortunately, we've regressed. The very same tender and the work that he's boasting about, is work that happened in my time. And from then, work stalled. And that is what infuriates us. To say 3.5 years of wasted time when we could have changed the people's lives. And after some more politicking, all they do is to go out and write op-eds and spin doctor as if that is going to change the situation when people on the ground are suffering on a daily basis. And you have NGOs like not in my name.
All right, Abel. Let me give him time to respond because I think he's been hearing you. What's your response to what Abel is saying? He's giving information from being within, right? He's giving information about a 3.5-year delay. That you have said that there's some projects that are going on, but there's been wastage already in terms of fixing the issue of the Hammanskraal water, and the fact that the mayor refuses to go see the people. Why is the mayor refusing to go? Has he refused?
Thanks, Masego. So I just want to address a few things. Number one, Mr. Tau is outrageously lying. In 2019, August, he was the MMC for utilities. At that period, a report was released about the quality of the water drinking, of drinking water in Hammanskraal by AfriForum, the CSIR, the South African Human Rights Commission, and ALTA. 4 institutions released a report in August of 2019 indicating that the water in Hammanskraal was not potable. Instead of engaging on those findings properly, Mr. Tau, the gentleman who is now fighting for this, actively lied to the residents of Hammanskraal around on a public spree, drinking the water, telling people that they must drink the water, that it is potable. In fact, what he did was almost criminally negligent because he encouraged individuals in Hammanskraal to drink water that was not potable. And this is important because when we came into office in 2016, we made it clear that the water was not potable. That's why water tankers were there. Water tankers, when Mr. Tau was the MMC for utilities, they were there at the time. They were always there. And yet somehow to obfuscate and act like, in fact, he had measures in place. He had not. He was summoned to the NCOP and he was summoned to Parliament to explain the colossal failure that took place under his watch. In fact, when the city was placed under administration by the provincial government unlawfully, the primary reason that they did it was because of the Hammanskraal water issues that emerged when Mr. Tau was the MMC. And yet he sits here and he acts as if he is a savior for the people. Astounding. Truly it is astounding. Because in fact, much of what we are trying to correct is a result of Mr. Tau's incompetence and ineptitude, which he totally obfuscates over. There is actual, in fact, I've got it on my phone. There's a litany of media articles from the period of, you can see some of them here, from the period of August to December 2019, where Mr. Tau spent those months actively trying to spin that the quality of water in Hammanskraal was at an acceptable level. It is not, and it has not been for years. And we are open and honest about that fact in the city of Tshwane, Masego. And I mean, the residents of Hammanskraal have every right to be angry and outraged about this. But more so, we should hold individuals account, like Mr. Tau, who instead of being open and honest about what was happening, actively lied to the residents of Hammanskraal, actively encouraged them to drink this water, which they should not be drinking. We have told them, do not drink this water. Use it to flush your toilets. You can use it to conduct washing, but please do not drink it and do not cook with it because it is still currently in the process of being treated properly, right, at our wastewater treatment plant. So I think we must be very honest with each other and goals and what is done, because Mr. Tau is out lying outrageously. The tender that he speaks of, that he says he secured, he now, as the ActionSA candidate, is requesting that it must be investigated. So all of a sudden, he kind of says that, no, I was here and I did this, but now he's trying to say, no, but this tender was irregular. In fact, it was not irregular. The city defended it in court and the contractor is still on site. So, so the man we have across from us who seeks to champion and act like he is the savior of Hammanskraal is part of the initial problem, who actively went around lying, drinking. I mean, there's pictures. There's an entire media record, 3 months of Mr. Tau lying to the residents of Hammanskraal. So,
all right,
I mean,
let's give him.
I'm eager to hear him defend himself.
Yeah, let's hear him defend himself. Mr. Tau, I do remember, for instance, those visuals of you drinking the water and saying that it's fine for human consumption. He says you're a liar. Are you a liar?
Hell no. It's interesting that Jordan, in his first opening statement, he said that they campaigned on this issue, and Mr. Msimanga for 3.5 years was the mayor at the helm. Now, in 2018, in September, there was a brick strike in Hammanskraal where the residents had gotten tired of the water that was not of drinkable standard. The MMC before me was Mr. Darrell Moss, who had consistently, and it was a DA line. As a successor-in-law, I came into a space where the DA had held a line that that water is fit for human consumption and all of those things. So for Jordan to come here and say to me, I'm lying and I said that people must drink the water, the only person after 3.5 years who said and meaningfully engaged with the people of Hammanskraal to say the water isn't safe was myself. They held a line with in the Msimanga administration. In fact, Masego, solely after he had failed together with MMC Darrell Moss, was promoted to be an MPL or to head the campaign in province, precisely because he had failed to resolve the water situation that he had campaigned on, and Jordan was there. But this isn't about politicking. At the end of the day, and as things stand, I can tell you now that the water in Hammanskraal that they shut down, that is brown as we speak, that they continue to feed the people for the past 2 weeks until I had to intervene in Hammanskraal, and only now they're saying the plant in Temba is broken.
Well, he's showing a quote from you, and Jordan, if you could just keep it there, that quote that you have there, so I could read it very quickly for Mr. Tau. Mr. Tau, he's holding up a phone where it's quoting you, saying that it stays 100% compliant, that you would like to assure residents in Hammanskraal and nearby areas that the water is fine, and you'll make you make every effort to make sure that it's compliant. So what's your response to him showing us this, and your response to him saying that there's some things that happened during the time you're MMC, and now that you're on the other side, you're wanting to investigate what you essentially looked after in the DA?
Masego, I have been an MMC for just a year, from February 2019 until February 2020. Now, you can go, it's on record. I can send you a record as well, where Darrell Moss is on record saying from December 2018 that water would be, the issues of water would be a thing of the past. Those messages that he shows you were immediately after I took over, when there were strikes in Hammanskraal, when there were issues in Hammanskraal. And I can tell you now, we can do the same. He's disturbing me because he's trying to interrupt me when I speak, and I allowed him to speak. But Masego, what I am emphasizing is that Darrell Moss, Solim Simanga, and everyone else before me had always maintained that the water is safe. Only when I engaged, and the report on Outer, the city had always been overdosing in the period of Darrell Moss to put more chemicals in the water so that it somehow meets the requirements, especially the aesthetic requirement. And when I got there and realized that this is not actually what it should be happening, and what the type of water that should be given to the people, what I did is I engaged honestly with both Outer, with the HRC, I engaged NCOP and everyone. All of the plans that certainly came in. I mean, I took over even when the plant did not have a permanent plant manager. There was not even a single artisan that did maintenance at the plant. The anabolic digesters were defective. The sludge treatment was not being done. I can go on and on. Maturation ponds were saturated. We were literally pumping raw sewer into the Apis River, that where we abstract at local for Hammanskraal people. There was not even security at the plant, where they themselves took a decision to remove security and put it into a cluster as an entity in the metropolis to protect assets of the city, which was a breeding ground for corruption, because this administration from the start has been mired in corruption. And I came in to resolve resolve those issues. And hence, I can go to Hammanskraal and give the people of Hammanskraal an opportunity to speak of their lived experiences. If these issues that he wants to come in the comfort of a camera for articles.
Mr. Tau, just very quickly, tell me something. You said you were MMC for a year. So what is it that you think the people of Hammanskraal, why should they vote for you? What didn't you sort out in a year that you think you can sort out once you've become mayor?
For 3.5 years, we have wasted time. For the year that I was in, I started to make progress, and hence we had progress. This week, Masego, the water is shut. Taps are not running in Hammanskraal. That's what we're talking about. For the past 2 weeks, there's been brown, smelly water that comes out of taps in Hammanskraal. And if we are going to sit here and say no one can speak on those matters, I speak with authority because I know that had we continued in the path that which I had started, the situation would be much better. But also, I know for a fact that had we used the 3.5 years spent where the Msimanga administration failed and MMC Daryl Moss failed dismally to address an issue that they claimed they had identified before the elections, the situation would be very, very different. The fact of the matter is they never cared about the people of Hammanskraal, hence they cannot take them into confidence. If this administration is so confident, why can't they go to the people? I have been to the people, even when they held the line as a DA member that the water is fine. And I was the one who boldly went out to figure out that the water is not fine, even when the DA held that line. And I'm proud to say, for the first time, the DA, and when I was there at the helm, managed to be able to start a path of recovery.
He's showing more and more articles, Mr. Tau. Jordan is showing us more and more articles that he's finding on his phone where you're quoted, where there's some pictures attached, where you're saying we are paying for this dirty water, or residents are saying that, so nothing has been done by both parties, I would say, because at some point you were also with the DA for a year, looking at having been voted in there to look at the situation in Hammanskraal. So it's another situation of political parties blaming each other. And this is a question to both of you. While the people of Hammanskraal are still expected to drink contaminated water that the Human Rights Commission has said a long time ago is not fine for human consumption. So that question is to both of you, gentlemen. At the end of the day, you can blame each other for this and blame each other for that, but there are people who are suffering, and it's not about you guys getting votes at the end of this year or next year.
Do I go first or you should go? Look, Masego, the issue is very simple. I know for a fact that the investments that are done, number one, with the treatment plan, even as they do what they do now, is to deal with the aesthetics. The people of Hammanskraal will not be getting clean, drinkable, potable water anytime soon. I think, according to Jordan, in a meeting that we've had, there's 2 or 3 more years. And I believe that it is because the DA is very, very incompetent, does not know what they should be doing in Hammanskraal. And therefore, for that reason, I do think that I have come on board, even in those meetings, to assist. Because the idea is not to score points, is to be able to resolve the matter. And I do believe that the kind of consultation that we did with experts and people who know gave us insight and information that could ameliorate the water situation. And they don't have to be arrogant, they just have to listen as things stand. But if they will not be there to resolve the water, whoever will be at the helm, we will assist, because we know what needs to be done, and we have started the path. We just need to stick to it and make sure that we deliver on the issue of water and stop the politicking that is currently happening with the DA and trying to spin this thing. Because at the end of the day, there is dismal failure on the side of the DA. It's 5 years later. They have been at the helm, whether it was Daryl Moss, Abel Tau, or anyone else. And I do believe that I did more to resolve the situation than all of the other MMCs combined.
All right, let's give Jordan a chance to also respond to that. Jordan, when 2 elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers, and this is a situation that we find ourselves here today. Your response, and to what Abel has been saying in terms of what he says he tried to do, but the DA has wasted 3.5 years.
Masego, the DA has not wasted 3.5 years. We allocated a budget of 300 million rand to refurbish the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant. What Mr. Tau did in his term as MMC is, instead of being open and honest about the quality of the water, which is not drinkable, he lied. What he should have said is that we are developing the infrastructure to address this, and that you are not going to have potable water until this is concluded, which is what we are saying as the Randall Williams administration. We've been open and honest about it. We're not remotely trying to spin or trying to make it seem like the water is potable. The water does not smell right. It is not being treated at the standard that it needs to be treated at. And let me be clear, the residents in Hammanskraal have every right to be outraged about that. They have had their water infrastructure neglected since 2004, because that's where reports were given to the ANC administration to say, this infrastructure is failing, you need to address it. They did nothing. And in 2016, when the DA-led administration came in office, we prioritized the budgetary funding to upgrade the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant, which is currently happening. And we even had the Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, there in May when the executive mayor was there doing oversight, who expressed her thanks and gratitude that work was progressing well enough, and has even committed, was so impressed with our progress, has committed that they will assist us in funding phase 3 to ensure we upgrade this infrastructure properly. But the fact is that the water is not at
just very quickly to the time that the ANC was still at the helm. You know, the people of Hammanskraal could think that you're making the same mistake that the ANC did before you took over for 5 years. So they might be thinking you've promised them that you're going to be a government that comes in and institutes changes and works faster. And now, 5 years later, since they voted you in, they're still waiting for clean water.
Masego, the points you are raising are 100% valid. Indeed, these are complex, long-term projects. And I think critically, we need to acknowledge that the scale of the problem that we inherited, we did not fully understand exactly what would be required. We're looking at, as I indicated, a 300 million rand refurbishment, which has to be funded over numerous budgetary years. So indeed, when we were campaigning, we examined and we assumed that what was required was proper maintenance and proper repairs at these plants. No sooner did we then come into office when it became very, very clear that in fact what is needed is a full-scale refurbishment. And the onus is also on us and administration to make sure that we communicate that properly to residents, to indicate to them and to assist in managing their expectations. Unfortunately, much of this work was undone by Mr. Tau himself, who, as I indicated, when reports came out on the damning water quality of Hammanskraal water from 4 different organizations. And Mr. Tau laughs. I don't understand why he laughs. This is an incredibly serious matter, and he has a responsibility for it. And he organizes an inquiry into it and doesn't even provide commentary on his role or what he did. There are 4 different reports that emerged when Mr. Tau was MMC. He spent his time fighting with the SA Human Rights Council, denying that the water was not drinkable, going to Hammanskraal and encouraging residents to drink that water, which makes them ill. It makes them ill if they drink that water.
All right, Jordan, I unfortunately have to leave it there.
Some kind of self-righteous awakening. It's disgraceful. It really is disgraceful. To his role in the city of Tshwane, and stop acting like he actually made a difference. His failure and ineptitude is renowned across the city of Tshwane. Thank you, Masego.
Mr. Tau, you want to respond to what he's just said? Please make it very quick.
Yeah, look, Masego, Mr. Griffiths can try to paint me as much as he wants. He 1 minute goes to acknowledge that there's failures over 5 years, but he wouldn't acknowledge the work that I did in taking us forward. So it's pointless to go tit for tat on this. But I would, come on, can I speak? I would still go as far as to say, Jordan, the solutions are here. We are here as ActionSA, as myself, to assist in taking this issue forward. I go to Hammanskraal, the residents embrace me because they understand that we want what's best for them. But trust me, in 3 months, if you are not going to do anything to ameliorate the situation as it deteriorates, we are going to court. We are hoping that they will heed our prayer, because we are going to want to be given the chance to fix this situation. That's how confident we are that we can fix this situation. So you can go on and spin it all you like. The bottom line is people of Hammanskraal will get clean, drinkable water, whether it's the work that you are supposed to do, it will do or not.